There have been multiple scary reports on Julius Randle's shoulder that seem to indicate there's a very likely scenario that the Knicks do not see him return this season and that he will have to get shoulder surgery before he plays basketball again. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and this is not an April Fool's joke. It seems as if there is a very, very likely scenario that has been growing that Julius Randle does not return to the New York Knicks this season because of his dislocated right shoulder. And there's a good chance he's going to have to get surgery on it before he plays again. So let's just take a look because this comes from a bunch of different sources. Now, first things first, what we saw a few days ago was Scott Perry make some comments on Julius Randle's injury and why it worries him. And he said, I'm very concerned about Julius Randle for the playoffs. Julius is a rhythm player and a ball-dominant player. When you have a guy who needs the ball in his hands, not only does he need that time to figure out his place again on the court, the guys who are playing with him now have to as well. And that's very telling. Scott Perry knows what's going on in the NBA. He also knows the Knicks well because he was their former GM just a few years ago. And actually at the time, I almost just made this video completely about that comment. But so much more has come out on the Julius Randle front. First of all, Scott Perry's right. When Randle comes back, he is going to have to kind of reintegrate himself into the rotation and figure out, not his role. We know what his role is as the second scorer, but he's got to get his rhythm back. He's got to get that groove back that he had. And even if he comes back, we're not going to see that guy who is just running downhill with reckless abandon because he's just not going to be fully healthy. His inside shoulder, because he drives left most of the time, is going to be in danger of a lot of contact, and that could easily pop it out of place. And let's say, from what we've seen from this MRI, that Julius probably is not going to... He probably doesn't have the most severe dislocated shoulder injury, but if it pops out again, you never know when it could tear through his labrum, like what happened with Ja Morant earlier this season. So when we look at that, that's something we have to be aware of, that Julius could be in danger of a re-injury that causes way more damage to his shoulder and could potentially harm next season for the Knicks. The Knicks have to decide if they want that or if they want to accept the fact that they're just not going to get Julius Randle back as the guy who they had in January and in December. Obviously, he had a slow start in October, but it was clearly his ankle was messed up. It sucks that once again we have to talk about Julius Randle and his injuries and how it's a problem. But also at the same time, we do know that Julius wants to play. But as Ian Begley mentioned, according to Tibbs, Julius' status remains the same. He has not been cleared for contact. Now, again, we know this. We know that Julius probably still has a bit of time ahead of him, even if he can come back and be half of what he is, because he hasn't been cleared for contact. All he's done is controlled contact, and that means he's not ready for just the recklessness and the contact and the awkwardness that is an NBA game, especially in the playoffs when it becomes more physical. There's going to be problems with Julius Randle and the New York Knicks, especially if he's not healthy. It's just not going to go that... I can't imagine it going that well for Julius if he's not fully healthy with the New York Knicks. And Josh Hart even spoke on this, and this is really the terrifying one in my mind. He said, I'm not in those medical conversations or anything like that, so I don't know shit, but we've got to approach every game and the end of this season that those guys aren't coming back, and if they do, we'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, the other name he's talking about is OG Anunoby, and there have been reports that OG is closer to coming back than Julius Randle. Obviously, OG did come back. The Knicks looked absolutely great with him, but he's just having aggravation from that elbow, which happens. He got his elbow sliced open to get it repaired. That takes a while to heal. He had to get it stitched back up, all that stuff. It's going to take a while just for that to get back into motion, especially when it's an elbow. He's an NBA player. There's not that many parts of the body that you use more than the elbow when you're playing basketball, especially if you play basketball the way OG does. I mean, mainly on offense, he's there to hit threes. He's there to make some shots, mainly spotting up. And then also defensively, you got the arms out, you're swiping, you're using the elbow a lot. So he can't be half of himself or he's not going to feel comfortable. He clearly was not comfortable when he was playing after or in that 3-game stint that he came back for. But now, once again, we are without OG, though I think OG will come back. I think they'll have OG for the playoffs. I think having Julius Randle at this point is kind of wishful thinking, but it's possible. The thing that isn't possible is that we get Julius Randle back and he's anything like we would want him to be. If Julius comes back in the playoffs, he's going to be injured. He's going to play injured, and he's going to force up a lot more jump shots because he's dealing with injuries. Now, not only is that going to be bad for the Knicks because he's not going to be playing his best basketball, and that's going to harm them, but also, it's going to really help that hive of people who are just so anti-Julius Randle, and that's going to be really stupid and annoying, and no one needs that because we know how well Julius was playing when he was healthy this season. We know how good he was. Yeah, he had a bad first 5-6 games, then got it together and was playing the best basketball of his season, or of his career, before Jaime Jaquez Jr. just cut him off awkwardly, caused Randle to fall, and had his shoulder pop out. And the fact is, it's been over 2 months. The rehab process, that physical therapy process for the shoulder, there should have been an update by now. And the fact that there isn't seems to indicate that it's not working and he's going to have to get his shoulder surgically repaired. And that's a nightmare scenario for the New York Knicks because that leaves them with one shot creator in Jalen Brunson for the playoffs. They're going to double Brunson constantly. Even if Randle comes back at this point, Brunson's going to get doubled constantly because teams know that Randle's not going to be fully healthy. And because of this, if I'm being honest, I don't think the Knicks should bring Julius back this season. I understand that it's a hot take. I understand how good the Knicks are this season, but this isn't their year. No team loses their entire starting front court and then goes on to win the NBA Finals. And I know Hartenstein is now the starting center and all that, but still, no team loses 3 key players to their roster, one of them being your second best player, one of them being your third best player, one of them being your fifth best player, and then you win the finals or something? No, we weren't even supposed to win the finals this year anyway. Look, we were pleasantly surprised by how good the Knicks were once again. They're a great team, and I think they do have potential to win and get into the second round. But without Julius, with Brunson as the one shot creator on this team, he's going to face doubles like he never has before in his life. The Knicks are going to need other guys to hit shots, and they're going to have to play their best defense they've ever played if they want to go anywhere far in the playoffs or anywhere out of the first round at all. Doing that is going to require both Mitchell Robinson and OG Anunoby to be on the court. I think Mitch certainly will. He didn't tweak his ankle again. It's the same injury. It's just sore. He's fine. OG, similar situation. He'll be fine. It sucks for right now that he's in a ton of pain and it's swollen, but the swelling will go down and then he'll get back on the court. And then the Knicks will have a great defensive unit, and maybe they can get to the second round. Maybe they get lucky matchup-wise and get to the third round. But without Julius Randle, this team is not nearly the contender they are with him. So things are going to get a little interesting. And I don't think they should hamper next season by playing Julius injured right now. I just don't think that makes any sense. Especially because you know what you get out of Julius Randle. You know that you're going to get a double-double machine who's putting up 25 and 10. That is what you know you are getting from Julius. We need to see what else this new look Knicks team needs on their roster. Yeah, we're going to see the playoff team without Julius. Like, oh, wow, they need another scorer, maybe even 2. And guess what? They have one in Randle who's pretty different from Jalen Brunson since he's fully attacking on the inside nowadays, which is what's made him so elite and why he became an all-star for the 3rd time in 4 years. But outside of that, the Knicks are still probably not a finals contender. They're going to have to go out and get someone else, probably, but we don't know who that is until we see how this Knicks team performs in the playoffs. We don't know who's going to fit with this team. It also depends on how other teams play in the playoffs, which team loses early, which best player on a team gets disgruntled, which team do the Knicks cash these picks in for, which player do the Knicks cash these picks in for. That's the big question. We're not going to know that till the playoffs. I think the Knicks can realistically contend for an NBA Finals in 2025 if they make one trade and make the team just a little bit better and have a healthy Julius and Jalen Brunson and just a fully healthy team. I think this team can win the NBA Finals healthy. They just need a little bit more talent. They're not going to win anywhere this year. I don't agree with playing Julius Randle right now. And Tibbs kind of talked about it and basically said, just keep doing what you're doing day to day. You never know when it turns. That's basically the approach we have when talking about the rehab process. Rehab is really your game, so put everything you have into it, and eventually you'll get there. You can't get discouraged. Just keep working at it. The other guys, they have a job to do. Look, if I'm being honest, that's the same thing we've heard for 2 months, and nothing's changed. So I'm not really taking Tibbs' comments that to heart anymore because he's not telling us anything, like this entire Knicks organization does not tell us anything. And look, I understand it's worked for a bit in the past, but it is annoying as a fan to just be like, all right, if you're going to shut Randle down for the year, if he's not going to come back, just tell us. Just tell us. Please. I understand the thought process of like making teams like have to game plan and you don't exactly want them to know. But they can't be imagining Julius is going to be some force to be reckoned with when there's 10 games left in the season and he's not even cleared for contact yet. And as Shams mentioned, Josh Hart's comments are very telling. And he's been out since January 27th. We're in April. He still has not done anything more than controlled contact. For the Knicks, it's a wait-and-see approach. I think we've waited enough. We've seen enough. Randle's season's over. Cut it, guys. Have a great day. Comment down below what you guys think. Should they just bench Randle? I don't see the point in playing him if he's not going to be fully healthy, honestly. Let me know. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Go Knicks.